And welcome, everyone. Today is Tuesday, March 12th, 2024. Welcome to the Equity and Student Achievement Committee of the Whole. This evening, I'm going to jump right into the agenda per usual, and we are going to start with the fact that we have no speakers listed for this evening. I also want to entertain a motion to entertain the minutes from the February 27th ESA Committee of the Whole.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Santiago, seconded by President Elliott. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Before we get into our presentations this evening, I do want to acknowledge, first and foremost, we do have a quorum here at the dais, and on Zoom, we have our Superintendent Peluso, who is on Zoom this evening. We also have our parent representative, Monica Graham. She is the parent representative for the Equity and Student Achievement Committee of the Whole. And we also have our Chief of Communications, Marisol Lopez, joining us by Zoom this evening for our viewing audience. So with that said, I'm going to go right into our first presentation. One thing before we call you up, I also want to acknowledge that ESA has so many compounded topics, and they become very rich because they are the core of what we are here for, which are student outcomes. And looking and considering how our conversations have gone, I want to try to become more efficient with how we are getting our questions out. And I started doing the math, and I'm like, 3 questions per commissioner. That's like 21 questions. And then we have like 3 presentations, and that's 21 questions per presentation. That's a lot of questions. And so I think that as we read and become a little more sophisticated with how we're looking at the information, we can proactively put information into the question log, especially those questions that will take a lot of time. And this evening, we will ask 2 questions per commissioner as we deem necessary. Without further ado, I would like to start with our annual summer school presentation. And at this time, let me just see if I can pull this up. Thought I had it up. I am going to have Miss Alicia Thomas come on up to present our annual summer school information and update. And she is the director of our expanded learning.
Greetings, everyone. Greetings to President Elliott, Vice President LeBron, Superintendent Peluso, commissioners, staff, colleagues, and the Rochester community. I come and stand before you today speaking about summer learning. I am speaking about the proposals for 2024 as well as the data from summer of 2023. Here we have our summer learning priorities, which are aligned to the newly updated board goals. And these priorities are focused on the evaluations that came from 2023, as well as what is it that we need to do moving forward for all of our students to have the best enrichment, academic, and social emotional opportunities during our summer learning process. So here you see things such as the high quality academic and enriching learning experiences, as well as opportunities for our students to connect with our community, immersing them in new skills and experiences to develop the whole child. All right, so we have some wonderful summer programs that we are looking to have here for this summer. And the first one being the Rock Explorers program, which we did have our first year of that last year. That is for grades K through 5. We are also looking to have our Rock Discover and Commencement program at Soda and Soda and Edison High School. We also have a newly brought to the table program, which is the Rock Vocademics. We have our Rock Achieve program, and we have our Acceleration University. We are looking to serve over 3,483 students this summer. And here you'll see additional programs that are funded by outside grants and grants throughout our district. So when we're looking at some of the program enhancements that we are going to do for this coming summer, we are looking to have programs based on our program evaluations and the data that allowed us to say, what is it that we need to truly do? What changes do we need to make for this year? So we are going to increase our instructional time. That is one of the main things in our core subjects for grades, in particular grades K through 8, as well as we are working collaboratively with the City of Rochester to provide a sports component for our Rock Achieve middle school program. And then we also have that we are bringing together our Rock Discover East program, which is going to be at School of the Arts. We are going to bring our commencement program to that site this year. So we have some special program changes due to the fact that, again, we are from the expanded learning department last year we were fully funded through ARP funds. And as we know, this year, the summer learning falls within the 2024-25 fiscal calendar. So I just want to make sure that that part is clear. So in doing so, we are making some adjustments. So for our CTE programs, we are actually going to bring that together with our Rock Vocademics, which we are looking to have on the MCC downtown campus. We are also looking to have our modified sports program become a part of our Rock Achieve program. And one thing I want to highlight with our Rock Achieve program is that that program is going to be about 1,000 students, and that one is based on our policy number 4750, which focuses on promotion and retention of students. So therefore, we are giving those students the opportunity to have an enriching and academic experience during the summer. So here we have our wonderful CBOs that we worked with last year. And as we know, we had over 26 distinct sites for us here at the City School District, but we also had 14 partners that we worked with over the summer, which was amazing. And we are definitely working with our community-based organizations to ensure that we can secure funding for continuation of programming moving forward. So getting into a bit of the data, we have here the attendance by programs, and I just want to highlight some of the variances. So yes, our average daily attendance rates ranged from 70 to 94%, and we're working to eliminate some of those barriers this summer, including transportation barriers, so that our students can attend summer learning every single day, as well as working with various stakeholders so that we can make sure that attendance incentives are in place, such as pep rallies and ice cream socials to allow our students to want to come to summer learning. Because one of the things I want to highlight on that real quick is that the RAND research as well as the Wallace research shows that students who attend summer learning for over 75% of the time have a much better chance of increased academic achievement. So here's some additional program evaluation findings from Gibson. And through attendance, again, like I stated before, though the attendance varied through the summer sites, 30% of students attended 50 to 80% of the time, while and an awesome group of 30% of our students attended over 80% of the time. Due to the ARP dollars, we were able to provide additional supports in our programs and enrichment, which is a factor in the variations of program costs. We were able to bring in additional social workers, teacher assistants, as well as paraprofessionals to provide additional assistance throughout our programs. One of the things here you'll see is that the iReady data did not show much significant impact for our students throughout the summer, but one of the things that we did notice is that there were gains in other aspects that were not measured by the iReady assessment. And 38% of our students who were off track to graduate for the 2023 school year, well, 22-23 school year, 38% of those students were able to get back on track by the end of summer. Here we have additional program findings through the evaluation and survey data. As you see here, 83 to 88% of parents, students, and staff enjoyed their experiences in the summer program. And which is interesting to me, as you look at bullet number 3, 61% of our students and 84% of our parents agreed that the program aided in preparing them for the upcoming school year. So again, we're working to increase those numbers as we move forward, but overall, 100% of our leaders felt that students benefited from summer learning. And we have some educator feedback, as you see here. One of the educators said it was very enjoyable summer experience. The students, staff, and administrators were excellent. And that is what we want to continue working towards, is that excellence throughout summer learning. So we have here some enhancements overall, and I categorize them based on attendance, student, family, and staff engagement, as well as teaching and learning overall. So for this enrollment, we are looking to enroll our students earlier in the process. We are looking to have ongoing communication with all of our families, as well as we are looking to have continuation of our staff and student surveys. So therefore, we are understanding exactly what is happening throughout the program and making the appropriate adjustments. We're also working to increase our enrollment of our English language learners students, because based on the data, we noticed that there were fewer students who actually attended this past summer, and we want to eliminate the barriers and make sure that we're getting them enrolled into all of our programs and opportunities. We also have here, through teaching and learning, we are wanting to expand our professional learning opportunities, making sure that we are including all staff throughout the summer, not just in the 20 hours at the beginning of summer, but we would like to have ongoing professional learning that we had, similar to what we had for the Rock Explorers program last summer. And we're also, one of the highlights again is increasing that mathematics and English time in grades K through 8, as well as we are looking to revise our 7th through 12 curriculum and create weekly formative assessments. So we're looking to have an additional data point so that when it comes to the end of summer, we can see the student progress, as well as continuing our connections with our CBOs and government agencies. That is all.
Okay, thank you so much for the information, Ms. Thomas. And I want to make sure I say your name properly, because I practice it. I always add extra syllables to your name, but it's Alicia.
Yes, ma'am.
I always add the IY somewhere, so Alicia
Yes, ma'am.
Thomas. Thank you very, very much for the information. I also want to take a moment to acknowledge that we have, in addition to Superintendent Peluso, our Chief of Communication, and our parent rep, we have Commissioner Griffin, who I believe is also on our Zoom as well this evening. So welcome at this time. I want to open up the dais to questions from commissioners. For those who may just be entering, I am asking that we keep our questions to about 2 questions per commissioner, relevant to the presentation that we've seen in front of us. And anything outside of that, we can try to commit to the board question log just to make sure we have enough time for all of the presentations coming forth this evening. I'm going to start to my left with, actually, I'm going to go up to the screen, and I'm going to start with the parent rep. Monica Graham, do you have any questions or comments?
I don't have any questions, but I do want to make a comment, a couple. So I appreciate that you all are trying to remove the barriers, such as transportation, to make sure that our scholars are getting into these wonderful programs, attending and staying there. I also appreciate the active enrollment for English language learners, because that is important that we are inclusive in these programs. And the note of connecting with other CBOs or the same CBOs to assist with funding, because that was a concern of mine, but it seems that you all already actively trying to make sure that you look ahead and make sure that these programs stay in place. So thank you for that, Ms. Thomas.
Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Griffin, I know you are online. Did you have any questions or comments that you'd like to make at this time? And can't hear, okay. If she changes her mind, just tell her to put her hand and Leslie will let me know. I'm going to move on to Commissioner Malloy at this time.
Thank you so much for your presentation, wonderful information. I don't have any specific questions, but I'm looking forward to seeing the data that we gather from this summer work, and hopefully we can get more and more of our scholars to participate. So thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I do have two questions. The one is, you mentioned the iReady data, which we know is just not all encompassing, and I appreciate that you lifted that. I also, before I get into my questions, want to acknowledge that there was a program change, and I meant to say that at the beginning of your presentation. Thank you for your preparedness to make sure that we got it in real time. Unfortunately, it happened right before the meeting, but you were very communicative, and what was that program change so that we are aware?
Absolutely. So our Rock Discover East is going to be at School of the Arts and not East High School.
Okay, so in the previous presentation you all may have received prior was at East, and she did make that update today. Thank you. Getting into the question, you mentioned iReady didn't show a significant impact in student improvement, but there were some growth opportunities that you did recognize that were outside of iReady, and if you could just give me an example of a few of those growth metrics or things that you saw with our students.
Okay, so some of the things that we were noticing, behavior with our students, definitely we saw an increase in engagement, and the behavior of our students was definitely for the group that attended definitely increased. So therefore, they were able to be more on task. That was one of the things that we looked at, as well as we looked at some of the social emotional. So what we did is we have an outside agency that also works on the social emotional aspects of learning, and they focused on it this past year, and we saw an increase in student growth for that.
Okay, but no other metrics that looked at academic.
Not at this time. So that is
Although-
one,
okay.
correct. That is what we're looking to do for this coming year. We're looking to have ongoing assessments where we can catch the data points to specifically target the all of the standards that are addressed throughout the summer.
Right, of course, thank you, and recognizing that social emotional does need to be whole in order for
Correct.
academics to grow as well. My last question for you, or second question, is you talked about a revision to the 7 through 12 curriculum. I'm wondering if you have an idea of what that revision might be and when we can expect that revision.
So what is going to happen is, due to some standard changes, the curriculum that was utilized last year for our 7th through 12th graders, that needs to be updated. So we're looking to have that within the next month.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm going to move over to Vice President LeBron.
I just have one question, just more of a processy question, because I see that some of the programs that are sort of pending based on funding, and I guess, are you guys actively working internally with our internal grants department to go actively seek grant funding that potentially is available both at the state and federal level? And I was actually having some thoughts and conversations around this today, because a few years back, perhaps even before you officially were in this room, Ms. Thompson, there was a concentrated effort from some of the previous board to increase the grants department, right? And there were positions there. I mean, I argued this down on a budget one year. That's why I only know this. But it came back up for me, because I argued this down, like, why do we need these individuals internally, especially if we're not actively going out and seeking grant funding, right? I think the district has had this dependency on we are state funded, but when we want to do additional things, the state funding really covers the overall head cost, operationally and staffing. But are you, or does your department actively work with the grant department, not only to seek grant funding, but are they also finding those grants and bringing them to your attention? I'm not expecting you all in your roles to be doing that research piece, because there are grant people that should be looking and finding. And I can tell you right now, I've come across at least 50 grants that I'm like, oh, the district would be eligible for this, and this program would be eligible for it. So just wondering what's happening there from your perspective, or if that is not happening. And if there is that disconnect, I'm looking at the leadership that is physically here. I know one is listening to me online. I've had that conversation with him as well, but from your perspective, please.
Thank you so much for that. So yes, we are definitely working hand in hand with the grants department to try and find all of the grants that we are eligible for. So when they go through and they look closer, there are some grants that may look on the outside as though we are eligible as a school district, but when you look at the fine details, that is where we're looking at, and we're finding that we're not actually eligible for as many opportunities as we once thought. So what we are doing is also, when the grants department brings those to us, we are also sending those out to our community-based organizations to make sure that they are applying for those grants that are available to them, so that therefore they can provide additional services for our students.
Hold on, you just triggered another question, because I'm like, do we as a district provide those grant supports to the CBOs? Because that's the other piece, the struggle of like, yeah, you find them, you send it to them, but if they don't have a grant writer, the capacity to sit down and write the grant, I do know partnerships would make the district eligible for a lot of these grants. And I want to acknowledge that on our own, you're right, we probably are not eligible on our own, but we are eligible if we partner with a local especially grassroots and CBOs. But does the district will then provide that support for them?
Yeah, so thank you. Absolutely, and we can also, through the board log, provide how much grants we've been able to acquire and monetary value of that. But we certainly partner with them. We write the letter of support and whatever assistance they need from us, assuming that we're also not in a heavy grant period, because right now we only have 3 individuals who do the full-time grant writing along with the grant management piece. So we are a part of every grant portal that notifies us of any grants that we're eligible for, but also our partners will often contact us and say, hey, here's a great opportunity, a service we can provide. Will you partner with us? Will you write the letter of support? Will you do A, B, C, D? And of course, we jump every hoop we possibly can to make that happen, especially if it's beneficial for our students.
Thank you. President Elliott?
So to Commissioner Simmons' point about the iReady, if there's been no academics on ELAs or math, then I question the value of summer school, because it needs to, because that's why we're in business to educate our kids. Absolutely. And so I question that. And so that question is, do we need a summer school? If we're not having impact academically, we may not need to be having summer school. So I'll say that. But I also look at, why are we offering summer school to early college when that's one of our highest performing schools, and then their attendance rate is 64%? That doesn't make sense to me. That says to me that in the summer, it's not valued, and we may not need to include early college in the summer program. But I'll just put it out there that if it's not having an impact academically, my question is, does it make sense for us to have summer school? Thank you.
Thank you. Can I follow up to one of that real quick with the Rochester Early College? That is a part of their grant, that
Okay.
they have summer learning. Thank you.
Yeah, but so are they going to be continuing with the grant, given that the average daily attendance is 64%? What grant is this that they're getting then?
Can I defer to one of the deputies for that
Because
answer?
maybe they don't need the grant,
Okay.
you know? Yeah, I'm just saying, I'm just putting it out there, because the attendance rate is at 64%. They have it's one of our highest performing schools. I don't see why there needs to be the summer school. So I don't know why the grant is even necessary, but I don't have that information, so.
I know there may have been a few transportation barriers as well. That was one of the things that we're definitely working towards this year, is to make sure that we can eliminate the transportation barriers so that students can attend program every single day.
But hear what I'm saying. It is
Yes.
a high-performing school, right? There probably need to be other schools, but that's a high-performing. It seems to me that summer school is not needed necessarily there for them.
Thank you.
President Elliott, we'll put that in the board log just to follow up with what that grant is and if the grant is required for that early college model. We'll get that information to
Okay.
you as soon as possible.
Okay.
Okay, Commissioner Patterson, did you have any thoughts, questions, or concerns? We're sticking to about 2 at this time.
I'm gonna defer. I came in late. I apologize to the public and for my colleagues that I was late this evening, so I'm gonna defer any questions.
No
Based on
problem.
that.
No problem. And Commissioner Griffin, thank you for joining us physically. I did acknowledge your presence on Zoom, wanting to know if you have any question or 2 questions. We're keeping it at this evening for this presentation.
No, I'm all set, and I do apologize again for coming in late. I was on Zoom, but I do like to be here physically, so I do apologize for that. But no, I have no questions at this time. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much. So, yeah, I guess that's a very important question. We would want to follow up on what President Elliott proposed this evening, because I do know in history there are students sometimes that may not academically, they may not be failing, but they have taken advantage of summer school to get ahead and to get extra credits, and that's not always the case. I know when I went to summer school, I needed summer school when I went, but then there's some students, I was like, wow, you're a unicorn. And this young lady, I remember at School of the Arts, was taking her courses and it actually put her ahead of the game. And I was like so impressed because it was a 16-year-old young girl and I was not thinking like that at 16. So definitely wanting to, let's lean into the academic outcomes that we are producing, because as we go through our presentations this evening, we are going to better understand why we do need to be producing academic outcomes, and if we're not, to President Elliott's point, what are we doing? And so I appreciate your time, your thoughtfulness, and everything you brought into this presentation this evening, Ms. Thomas.
Thank you so
Thank you.
much.
We'll follow up with any additional questions. I want to just lift this pen up. I scared President or Vice President LeBron with this pen earlier tonight, but I want to shout out school number 7. That's where I got the pen. They had a World Read Aloud Day, and a few district staff, administrators and such were there, but we got these little cute pom-poms after reading, and it was the highlight of my day was it earlier this week? The days are coming together, but it was very cool, and thank you for the pen. So I wanted to kind of celebrate them. I do see your hand, Commissioner Patterson. Before we go on to the next presentation, I will take your comment or question.
Just a question. Again, I apologize for coming in late, and I heard you mention iReady. When is the next iReady data going to be available to us? Can anyone answer that?
Good evening, Commissioner Patterson. So we just actually received a formal middle-of-the-year review, and we can actually have that data available via the board letter from Superintendent Peluso, and then we will have a more formalized presentation, I believe, scheduled for next month, if I'm not mistaken.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm going to, these computers kind of move around, so I appreciate everyone for bearing with me. Trying to sign back in, it logged me out. And we're going to move on to our next presentation, which will be our course catalog. We're going to have Steve Lamort come and present again, the course catalog this evening.
Hey, good evening. Hello, Commissioner Chair Simmons, President Elliott, Vice President LeBron, board members, Superintendent Peluso, and district staff, state monitor, community. Thanks very much for having me. My name is Steve Lamort. I am the Chief Academic Officer, and we have just a few things to talk about or updates to provide around the
I'm
course
sorry to
catalog.
interrupt. Can I ask you to just kind of get closer to the mic if you don't mind?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you so much. That's
There we
better.
go. Thank you. So every presentation I give to ESA always starts with the instructional core as a reminder of the most important things to focus on in the district. And I think this is a nice example of something, wondering where the course catalog fits in here, right? The course catalog isn't something that happens right in daily instruction per se, but when we look at the course catalog, I would say this fits right into that content piece, right? The course catalog helps define our program of studies for the district. All the opportunities that are available to students throughout the district is what the course catalog does, right in that kind of content piece of the instructional core. So the course catalog is obviously not kind of a new thing. Every district has a course catalog that defines their program of studies. We have always had one here in the district as well. A change, oh, I'm sorry, I skipped ahead too quickly. A change that we made to our course catalog recently, last year, was turning the course catalog into a more dynamic website as opposed to a single static a PDF document that parents have to fish through. I know as a parent, I currently live outside the district, and the course catalog is 100 pages. And as a parent, it's very kind of intimidating to have to run through all of it every year, multiple times, right, depending on if you have multiple kids. So what we did last year was move the course catalog into this online format to make it a little bit friendlier for parents. As one thing, it's a lot easier in terms of user friendliness, public accessibility always, and ease of maintenance as well. Very, very short amount of slides, and then I can take you into just take a quick look at the course catalog site itself for you to have a look at it. In addition to the courses that we offer, that course catalog standard, both when it was a static kind of PDF form and now that it's online as well, offers New York State graduation requirements, information about student support services, ELL services, bilingual programs, and the new course selection or creation process, as well as old editions, archived editions of the course catalog. It's really important, actually, to have those old versions of the course catalog around, because even when students graduate from us, we have to have a record of the courses we offered, right, each year and keep them historically in our system. So we always try to keep that archive available. And that was part of the graduation audit, right? That was a big focus of last year, is about making sure that we have archived copies available of that course catalog, both publicly and, for our own internal records. So instead of keeping them internally in a spot, we made sure that they're available publicly now as well. Okay. To get to the course catalog, if you are on the district website and on the teaching and learning page, there's a link right there for folks to see the course catalog, or you could simply type in rcsdk12.org/course catalog and get you there. Just in terms of the process, as I said, the course catalog is a pretty important document and it has to be updated every year. So normally at the end of the school year, over the summer, in the very beginning of a school year, right? So June, July, August, September, we will field proposals from either schools or from departments here internally about potential new courses we might want to offer. And a tricky part about the course catalog is the work we're doing on the course catalog in September of 23, right, like last year, it was actually to make updates for the course catalog for the 24-25 school year. So as those proposals come in, the Teaching and Learning Department of Content Experts reviews them, make sure there's appropriate guidance, curriculum, goals, for the courses, and then, if approved, gets entered into that course catalog by November. Because again, the course catalog for next year has to be done by November of the previous year, because at the school level, students are using next year's course catalog to choose their courses in November, December, January. The course catalog, it seems just like a simple document that has to be created, but it really has ripples throughout our system, because we have to make sure that parents and families and students are informed of what they want to take next year, so they can make accurate selections, so we can make sure we have enough teachers in the budget, right? And so you can see how something like this, why it has to be done so early and why we take it so seriously. Right. End of the actual formal presentation, and I'll just click into the course catalog for a quick second. And as Tom set this up for me, I found out that my eyes got old real quick. It was a little unexpected for me to not be able to see that screen. So excuse me if I go a little slower. As you can see, this is the live website or the live course catalog right now. And again, publicly accessible for everyone. You'll see the first couple links at the top are those larger general information that I talked about, graduation requirements, what are things like AP, what kinds of support services are available. And then you'll see sections for each of the kind of academic departments that offer courses. Very briefly, if you were to click into one, let's say social studies here. All of the sections are set up, or all of the academic sections are set up in a similar way, with some overview of what courses and course pathways are available. Students have lots of flexibility in the electives they take at the 7-12 level, but there are a lot of required courses. Social studies is one of those where you don't have any choices, right? The state ed defines for you what you take each year in terms of the required credits that are needed for graduation. So the course catalog page for that section will lay out that pathway or potential pathway, right, depending on the subject area that that students could take, and then a simple listing of all the courses that go along with. Any of the courses that are listed in this first section can and should be available district-wide. If you were to, I'm going to scroll down real quick to the bottom, you'll see a section that may have school-specific courses, if there is a specialized course that can only be offered in some schools. Social studies is an example where just about every course can be offered anywhere. In social studies, the only school-specific courses are things like IB courses, right? Because we only have one IB school. There are maybe some art courses or obviously CTE courses because of the equipment that's needed that can't be offered at every school. But again, the course catalog denotes that for each subject area. With that said, I'm going to pause, or at the end of kind of formal presentation, and pause for all of you if you have any questions or need further information.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Mr. Lamort, for your presentation this evening. I'm going to open up to questions, again, 2 per commissioner. I'm going to start right next to me, actually, with Commissioner Malloy, who has a question.
Thank you. Just one question. I love the site. I love the accessibility. I love the course descriptions. Really forward-thinking, so thank you for that. My question is, do students and families currently have the ability to see in real time how many credits they have or still need to graduate? And is there a link for that? I know like on PowerSchool, is there a way for students to see that in real time other than on like their report cards?
Yeah, they definitely do have access to that system. I'm not going to speak to it. I don't know if, Deputy Turner, you want to talk from the counseling end, or if we want to get further information about how students are available through Naviance and PowerSchool?
Yeah, and I say that too just because I know I see the New York State graduation requirements that are listed on here, and everyone knows that you need 22 credits to graduate.
Absolutely.
But if kids could see that and understand where they're at in that progression, like instantaneously, or if there's a link, like where am I at? I would love to see that.
Definitely available. Oh, I'm so sorry.
Go ahead.
Definitely available electronically, and it's a part of the regular process that counselors engage in with with students at the school building to make sure that they're aware of and understand their progress.
Right. Obviously, I'm just looking for more like independence, like that could be accessed by families at home.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, yep, they have the graduation plan, which is accessible for students, but they also can access it through the Naviance software that majority of them use often in schools that will also keep track of what they've completed and what they need to complete in order to graduate.
Okay, and they have access to that at home, and kids are taught how to access that early on in their high school career?
Yep, parents don't have logons, but they usually their kids log on to see the progress in Naviance.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks. Thank you, ma'am.
Commissioner Griffin, did you have any questions or comments?
I'm all set. Have a great one.
Thank you. I'm going to go up to the screen or the Zoom. Ms. Sandino, do you see anyone on there? Or does, like, the parent rep, Monica?
Parent rep.
She's still there? Okay. Did you have any comments or questions, Monica?
I just have a question. With the course catalog online, are we able to read it in different languages? Is that an option?
Because everything's online, you could use the regular Google Translate functions, but we do not have a multiple language translation of all of the pages in the course catalog as of now. Manually by a live person.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to loop back into myself. I have one question for you. I wanted to ask about feedback loops. So as parents and folks access, parents and students access the course catalog and they're looking, I want to, what do we have in place if there's like some glitches or things that are not working well, or hey, I couldn't even find the information I was looking for whatever reason, how will they be able to provide that feedback in a way that they can get a return quickly and not wait several weeks, how does that work?
Gotcha. Yeah, the best bang for the buck in that case is all of this is really a school-based process. We manage the maintenance of the course catalog, the courses, and the site itself, but we hear very regularly from registrars and counselors about if something is not making sense or if something is not working. Registrars and counselors really live by the course catalog during that time, and so as that feeds down right into students and parents, it feeds immediately back up to us through them. I'm thinking we don't have a formal, kind of outlet to ask for feedback. So I'm thinking about how we can do that now,
Yeah.
kind of from your question to make sure that's part of our
Yeah, I'm
regular
thinking
business
something
too.
can get built in, similar to
Yeah.
what Commissioner Malloy was speaking about, something built in where maybe it's, I don't know, maybe I think it's light and it may be a lot more in depth than what I'm thinking, but something where they can click on it, it communicates to the person or individuals in their school community, whatever their question is, and filters that way versus them having to go through a bunch of red tape to get the answers they need. But
Yeah,
yeah,
understood,
let's
agreed.
capture that and see if we can figure something out there. I'm going to move along to Vice President LeBron. No? President Elliott?
Thank you. So the courses that I'm seeing here, these are all the courses that are offered?
Yeah,
No
all the
more courses than these that are listed?
There shouldn't be, right? The course catalog is to be the end-all, be-all of what is offered in the district at the secondary level. We don't do a course catalog for elementary because that's so prescribed. So that was part of the graduation audit and the work, from last year. Is what's happening in buildings matching the course catalog, and is that matching what's in the system in Power School? So we've been doing that work too.
What I'm asking about is seeing more advanced courses, around AI, around languages, Chinese and some of these other languages, really the kinds of courses that are going to impact our students and their ability to be able to compete in this world that we're moving into. So these seem to be kind of basic, but I want us to get more into offering those more attractive kinds of courses that I think that our students will be interested in and that will help them to participate in the marketplace. So that's what I'm interested in.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
We might want to also note the Office of OPE, I'm not sure, but we might want to take a look at how we can engage and partner to outsource some of that. I know school counselors have a lot on their plate, several hundred students, and I can imagine that they're probably not getting to all of them as they would want to. How can we work smarter together? So that might be something OPE partnering. I'm going to
Yeah.
move along.
I actually,
Yes.
I actually have a meeting with Ms. Hellman and OPE tomorrow to talk about how to make some academic information about supporting your students at home, right, available to parents. So we'll add this to the list.
And I know that they are going to be engaging on even the graduation requirements that were just mentioned by Commissioner Malloy to help parents. So building all that stuff in, well, that'd be really dope. Commissioner Patterson, any questions or comments?
No, thank you for the presentation.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Wow. We're all set. Thank you.
Thank you much.
No questions. We will follow up, though. I'm sure we'll have some more. Thank you, Mr. Lamort. You're on your way to a record-setting. Trying. And at this time, we have Deputy Superintendent Demario Strickland coming to us. He's going to be providing some updates for cohort 2020. I want us to make sure that when we hear these updates, of course, again, we get to preview the information. So before we jump right into it, I want to really commend you, Deputy Superintendent Strickland, because this information is extremely sobering. But I really appreciate the fact that when the transparency in the information, well, I feel is transparent information, and it really gives us a pulse. And the only way we can wrap our minds and our heads around what needs to happen in this district is to be upfront, transparent, and direct about the information that we put out there regarding our students and how they're doing. So I just need to say that. And so as we ask our questions, again, I'm going to ask that we limit it to 2, that we limit them to relevant questions regarding the information being presented in this presentation, and that we also look at these through a systematic lens, how systems work. And we'll have to probably dig deeper as we go, but I'm going to give you the floor at this time, sir.
Yes, good evening, President Elliott, Vice President LeBron, Chairwoman Simmons, Board of Education, Superintendent Peluso, staff members, and the overall greater community. My name is Demario Strickland, the proud Deputy Superintendent of Teaching and Learning for the Rochester City School District. Next slide. As always, I will begin my presentations with our 2023 to 2028 board goals. As you can see, these are the ones that we've adopted, which is excellent because it really helps to give us a focus and a target that we need to exceed. I don't want to say meet, but we need to exceed. As you can see, goals 1, 2, and 3 focus primarily around the elementary grade levels. And the information that I'm going to be providing to you today around the cohort 2020 mainly or seems connected to goal number 4, which would be to increase the number of students earning 5 or more credits in 9th grade from 70%, which was our current rate in September of 2023, to 90% by June 2028. I just want to start here and provide some context, though. So often we think that goals 1, 2, and 3 only live at the elementary grade levels. But we need to understand that the things that are happening in our elementary schools do in fact have an impact on our students when they get to high school. I say that to say that we all have a play in how our current students are doing in our schools. I remember as a principal, I would tell my grade pre-K, K, 1, and 2 teachers that you also own that 3rd grade New York State data, and I'm going to start, using that messaging, and that everyone from pre-K to grade 11 owns our current senior cohort data. So the information that's going to be provided is all of us and not just our high school educators. So just to give some context and to level set, I wanted to provide some quick definitions, and in talking to Commissioner Simmons earlier, realized that we forgot 2, and I will share those in just a moment, but you will see cohort 2020, and what that definition is, just for clarity, is that the students entered grade 9 the school year of 2020 and 2021. So they are our current seniors. You will see the word SIRS, which is the Student Information Repository System that New York State uses to house the data that we collect. So everything is actually found. The information that we present to you is actually within the repository system. And finally, we have ASAP, and you've heard one component of ASAP, which is the course catalog, but our ASAP is the academic standards and assessment procedures that guide the practices of the district. 2 more. We also, you will see SWD, and that is our Students with Disabilities, one of the acronyms used. And you will also see LELL, which is our English language learners. And I just wanted to put that out there so that it provides further ease as you're going through the presentation. So again, to level set, what you see in front of you is the current minimum for our students to be declared graduates of any school district in New York State. They must take 4 courses and pass in English, 4 in social studies, 3 in science, 3 in mathematics, 1 in world language, visual art, music, dance, and theater 1. Physical education is a half credit each semester throughout the years. Health is half of credit. And 3.5 credits of electives. So that's up to the student and the family to choose what those electives are. They are, if the school offers it, they can take it if they pass the requisites to be able to take those courses. But all in all, you need 22 credits minimum to be declared a graduate in New York State. Okay, next slide. According to Superintendent Regulation 4000R, which is very much in line with other Big Five city school districts, we have a situation where we actually label a student by their grade level according to the number of credits that they have earned. So not necessarily their cohort. So we do in fact have students that are in cohort 2020, which are our current seniors, that actually do land in the 9th, 10th, and 11th grade years based off of their credits. But for our internal sakes, a student is a 9th grade student when in fact they have 0 to 5 credits, 10th grade when they have 5.5 to 10.5 credits, 11th grade when they have 11 to 16 credits, and they are a 12th grader when they have 16.5 credits or more. Next slide. And then we have our Regents requirements. And teacher at heart, I always like to give this background so that, you know, I'm providing the overview and then we get into the data. You have to pass an English, you have to pass a Regents in each of these categories and earn a pathway in one of the following areas to earn a Regents diploma. English language arts is a toughie because English language arts only has one Regents exam, which is at the junior level or English 3. And that's one of the only opportunities for students to actually earn that Regents credit in that course, in that course area. Mathematics has multiples, science has multiples, social studies, again, has multiples. And then we have the pathway, and I laid out the pathways which have a variety of different requirements that the student can acquire. And I have attached the graduation requirements to the administrative documents in board docs for your review, and it gives the definitions of what the arts pathway is, what the humanities pathway is. And sometimes it's just as simple as, instead of one course I've passed in social studies, I actually passed two Regents exams. So I get to get the humanities pathway checked off. Yes, you can actually have multiple pathways. Yeah, that is all, again, found on the graduation requirements that I have attached to the documents. Again, we're about to get into the data for cohort 2022, but I would be remiss to talk about the COVID-19 impact. So often, and I want to be clear, COVID and the pandemic was a difficult time for all of us. I want to be clear that the COVID impact has had some impact on our data. In particular, with this class, which is the class of 2020. This class was the class where their freshman year was cut short, March of 2021. So all of the things that were up in the air and the confusion was this class, this current class that we are in. Students were able to earn either exemptions, which they did not have to take Regents assessments, and or earn special appeals where they had to take the assessment but score between 50% and 64% to actually earn credit for those subject areas. Okay, and as you could see on your presentation, the months and year show you when those exemptions could have been earned in all Regents courses, except when you get to June 2022. The only exemption in June, August, and January was the U.S. history exam. Special appeals were for any, generally seniors, granted to seniors that scored between the 50 and 64, and those were provided sort of as COVID was panning out in June 2022 all the way through this past August of 2023. Next slide. So with that being said, we have a projection for the August 2024 graduation rate for the 2020 total cohort of students, and that is looking, as of right now, 65.4%. As you can see on the slide, at this point in time, it's the estimated graduation rate. We are about 0.1% lower in percentage points than we were last year. So again, that's why I wanted to preview the information that we had prior, especially around COVID-19 and the impact that it has had on our students. Again, not using that as an excuse, but recognizing that we have a lot of work to do to get our students caught up and on track. Just a moment, sorry. These information that are in front of you here are showing the current platform as to where our students are in terms of the current 2020 cohort, in particular with enrollment. First, I need to shout out the Office of Accountability. They have diligently been providing this information. They help support teaching and learning and triangulating this information and really getting us into a place of where we need to focus our energies so that we can continue to improve the student outcomes. As you could see, we were, the special red marks are SWDs, 12.9% dropout. And we see our English language learners, 19.9% dropout, which it's highlighted because that is an area of focus for us. I do know that there are root causes currently happening in multiple departments to determine why the dropouts are there, but I'm excited to talk about some of the things that we do to sort of recoup those students back into the districts with some of our programs and the work that many of our amazing principals do in fact do. Next slide. This slide is around the credit and Regents accumulation review for the August graduation. And we typically use this, this area in purple, which shows that we are 16 plus credits or more. So out of all the students in the 2020 cohort, which is 1806, we are right now showing that 1182 of them, which is 65.4%, have 16 or more credits. We see that 1,257 of them, they're at 69.6, that's 69.6%. Those students have met 3 Regents exams. And partially that number is increased because many of our students applied and qualified for exemptions and or special appeals. And then our final column, which is the green, those are our students that are, they passed 3 exams, 3 Regents exams, and and that is 59.9%. Next slide. This here is the same information broken down by demographics. As you can see, it has all of our accountability subgroups on the side, and it shows, God bless you, it shows the same information just broken down by level, by accountability group. And again, it helps the district personnel, the folks down here, analyze the work and really be strategic with our school leaders on how we target certain students and help them acquire the credits that they need to be successful. Next slide. The document here, the purple is in correlation to what you've seen on the previous slides. And as you could see, these are the on-track by schools. The students that are above district average, you see Rochester Early, Soda, World of Inquiry, East, School Without Walls, Wilson, all have percentages that are greater than 72%. So 72% or more of their students have 16 or more credits. They're slated to graduate by this June and or August. And then we have our students at Edison, Monroe, Northeast College Prep, Franklin. OOD is out of district, so those are our students that may be in placements via BOCES, Mary Carriola, so on and so forth. They are also counted in our calculations. That's 14%. And then we do have homebound students, meaning they actually cannot come into a building for a medical reason or limitation. We do also track those students as well. One thing I did want to lift, can you go back to that last slide? Edison is currently at the district average, and that is a different tune than what we are used to actually seeing in years prior. For them to be right at that cusp, that's encouraging. It's not where we want it to be, obviously. We want it to be at 100%, but just to see them keep in pace with the district as a school that's in receivership is extremely commendable. So I just wanted to put that information out there. Next slide. This follows a similar format. These are our schools ranked by percentage of students that have 3 or more Regents exams. And again, you can see for yourself where our students are currently scoring. And finally, 16 plus credits and 3 or more Regents exams, and how our students at the schools are faring. Lastly, just again to reemphasize, all of these data are actually found in the SIRS New York State repository system, which actually draws out the information from PowerSchool. Next slide. We also dive deep by subject area. So I know that the minute I received these data, this information went out to the subject area directors in our teaching and learning department to say, hey, look at how our students are faring. Let's start getting out there, being with our principals, what's actually happening within our course content. How can we enhance it? Is there some things that we can slightly get rid of or modify so that we are ensuring success for all of our students? And the next 2 slides show just that. And slide 17, please. And then we think about the student progress towards graduation and what some supports look like. This is not limited to, and believe me, I have my pen, as I always do, as I always stand before you, to write down even some of the thoughts that you may have to further be in partnership with improving these student outcomes. So we do cohort reviews with principals, and our school counselors are extremely diligent with this work. And this work is happening with school chiefs and myself as well. There are schools that have evening and Saturday intervention programs. I live a block away from World of Inquiry, and every Saturday, I actually see cars in the parking lot and kids walking into that school trying to get their learning on, trying to get caught up or accelerate so that they can be on track or just be ahead of the game. And I just love seeing that. That makes me happy. I like our schools to be open as much as possible. Our students participate in online credit recovery. They also participate in marking period recovery. That means if they may have not fared well one marking period, quarter one, they may have gotten under 65%. They have the opportunity to do work which is very similar to our online credit recovery program, but just a small portion, and they can actually earn a better score in that grade. Our central office administrators, this is very new since myself coming into this administration and this position, making sure that our content directors, teaching and learning, are getting out there to the schools. So we're not just in here building curriculum and not knowing who we're building curriculum for. We actually are saying, yes, math department, go out to schools, do walks with principals, be of support, let us know what are the needs that you're seeing in schools, and they are following a similar schedule to our school chiefs, whom are out at schools 3 or more days a week. Our counselors ensure cohort trackers are accurate with power schools. So one of the things as a school chief, I used to go, I don't want to say ham, but you know what I mean. I used to go crazy over this. Every principal loved talking about their cohort tracker and how amazing and colorful it is and things of that nature. But then they didn't realize that their cohort tracker does not feed into the New York State repository system. So through the work of the accountability department, they've done some enhancements in Power School in which there is a graduation plan. And we need to ensure that Power School has all of the information that the cohort tracker actually has. So there has been a big push to make sure these cohort trackers are actually reflected inside of the Power School system. There are continuous review of school improvement plan. We actually have a graduation commitment. Each of the high schools do have a graduation commitment, and that sort of guides the work and sets the tone for creating a plan to make sure that we are focused on getting our students across the finish line. And finally, Principal Ramirez just actually gave myself and Chief Torres a nod yesterday. He wants to meet. We have to really talk about how we continue to offer and provide supports to our schools so that they can further, he can be a continued support to all of our high schools and help students catch up and ultimately graduate. And that also includes, and this is what's very important, Principal Ramirez, that dropout rate that was in red, those are many of the students that he targets for us, works with them, whether or not they have, creates viable plans that's gonna help them become successful, and that is also a huge lift on many of our schools in our district. And with that being said, questions?
Thank you so much for this presentation. I'm going to breathe for a moment. I'm going to jump right in. This is a lot, and as I was looking at this during the preview, kind of sitting with it prior to this meeting and then listening to this information again, there is clearly like some foundation. I mean, it's not rocket science, and it's been said before, it's nothing new. I'm saying there are some structural and foundational defects. And the thing is, when you come up and you're talking about teaching and learning, there's only so much you can do when other parts of the system may not be supporting or feeding into things that are getting put into place. And I want us to really, I'm trying to challenge myself, I'll speak for myself first and foremost, how I'm looking at this information. I want to make sure that we're digging deeper because, even when I go to slide 12, unfortunately, because there's so many, there's a good thing you mentioned with, like you said, Edison. We know historically Edison had become a dumping ground, and forgive me for not saying it politically correct, but that's how I saw it, as a dumping ground for students who did not elect to be there, that didn't even know why they ended up there, and then they were over age and all kinds of stuff, the concentrated needs. And then you see that at Franklin, because when I look at that rate for Franklin, I'm like, this is a miscarriage of justice, you know? And then when we look at equitable distribution of students, we can almost figure out some of the system deficit that took place and how we ended up in these spaces. I think it's also sober, like you said, Deputy Strickland, as far as sober thought to remember to the inception of this particular cohort and what they have achieved and where they're going. But now we got to focus on what's going to happen. And that's why I'm struggling, because with the summer school presentation saying, ooh, the academic outcome, we got to have an academic outcome, especially how many students are we looking at? Because we have a number of students that are going to need summer school.
Yeah, we definitely do. I would say,
600 plus?
let me see.
700?
Let me get those data for you, but I do know that we do have we have a breakdown by subgroup, but it also shows us how many students are in each of those categories, 0 to 5, 5.5 to 10.5, 11 to 16, and most of those students would need summer learning to actually catch up. You know, a lot of our schools do target the 11 to 16 range, but we can't forget about those students that are still at 0 to 5.
Right.
You know, our hearts and souls cannot just go ahead and say, you know, they're whatever about them. No, we have to continue to work on those students as well. At the same time, lifting those students that are 16 plus, because some of those students that are 16 plus, they're not out of the woods yet. They're not out of the woods. So we just got to continue to wrap around, as you said, around all of our students.
So of course, we're going to want to know the plan. What I'm going to do is start at to my right, and I'm going to start all the way down by Commissioner Patterson.
Thank you.
Two questions, sir, please.
We'll start with screen number 7, and I was going to speak to this myself. First of all, thank you for being so transparent, you know, with this information.
Thank you.
It's very important that myself and my colleagues have a true explanation of graduation rates and
Yes.
why some might say, hey, we're doing okay, you know, a number of kids, you know, graduated.
Yes.
But then again, you know, explaining this screen right here, that they understand that as far as the Regents exams during that period of COVID up until last year, that I'm trying to read my own notes here.
Yeah, no problem.
They did not sit for those, or they were exempted, you know, from taking those examinations.
Correct.
So therefore, maybe they were graduating but weren't prepared, you know, to graduate or for life experiences.
Correct.
And then also the special appeals from 50 to 64, they were allowed to appeal, and some of those students also passed based on those appeals. So I think the public should be aware of that. It's very important that they do, and if they have any questions relative to that screen, please, you know, contact you or someone else in the administration to respond to that. And my second question, let's see, I think it's more of a statement relative to screen number 9. The only thing I'm not seeing here that I would like to see in the future is male versus female dropouts. Because then we can pay, you know, strict attention to, is it more males dropping out than it is females? You know, what can we do as males to try to increase that number, and vice versa? You know, if it's
Absolutely.
females, you know, what can we do to increase, you know, get them back into school?
Those are good data points, and actually, we have to add non-binary to the equation as well. We have students of non-traditional lifestyles that are dropping out because of various factors in the community and within communities of the outside and within the school. But that is a great point, and I'm gonna put a star next to that. because I want to see that as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Great question. Thank you, Commissioner Patterson. Commissioner Santiago, 2 questions, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, I do have a question. So what, do you know any opportunities that we're giving to middle school students to receive high school credit?
Of this cohort?
Of this cohort, and actually also like current programs that we may have that allows middle schoolers to
Yes.
engage in high school credits?
So I do know that a lot of our middle school programs at least offer a section of algebra and living environment, now going to be called biology again. Surprise, surprise. So that would be about, 1 track of students in those schools, and that is traditionally only offered to those that are considered accelerated. We also, under my tutelage as deputy, has run the St. John Fisher program, in which those students were able to accrue credits last year to help sort of circumvent this trend of students not graduating or getting to 16 credits by the time they're seniors. So we are being intentional in trying to get those students credits even before they hit the high school door.
Yeah, and I asked that question because I want to say that when you look at the structure of the expectation and how, the students are required to meet this credit by this school year and this credit by this school year. But the truth is some of our students go through issues outside of our school district that may hinder them from maybe being successful in one class. Now this one class shoots them off. And so I think that as we speak about being proactive, how are we ensuring that we're looking at stuff like this on how beneficial it is to students to be one step ahead as they're getting ready to enter high school? But also this makes me also look at, even our board goals. We're seeing that right now there's 70% of our students who are in 9th grade who are taking the 5 or more credits. And the reason why we put that and establish that is because the philosophy behind that is that if they at least finish 5 credits by the first school year, they should be graduating by the end. But what we're seeing even in our graduation rates, the 70% isn't even being reflective in our graduation rates. So the question is, even as a board, as we look at our board goals, is this effective in the most possible way? Or is there more effectiveness that we can see through ensuring that our students have enough wiggle room and have a credit before even getting into high school, or 2 credits or 3 high school credits before getting into high school, to allow them and give them a chance that if there is life issues that they may have to deal with, or there is a mistake that they may make, they do have a cushion behind them?
Just to quickly answer your question, there are, Commissioner Santiago, opportunities for accelerating or acceleration. Our Virtual Academy of Rochester is very successful in getting students to actually, take courses during the evening and things of that nature so that they can earn those opportunities to even gather or gain over 22 credits. That needs to be really reflected. And I will say from that 70% that was derived, that would be our current, if I'm not mistaken, our current 2022 cohort. 70% of them earned 5 or more credits, which is promising. It's showing that we are doing something right in spite of the pandemic and the impact that they had over our schools. So that's why we were able to set that goal, and we got to keep the goal there and just keep pushing. And you heard the myriad of ways that we're working with, as a system to really meet that 90%.
And this is my final statement, then we'll move
The
on
final
to
one,
President
sir. This will
Elliott.
be your final
But I think that, you of course will continue pushing towards this, but I think that it would be good to keep an eye on how effective this
Absolutely.
board goal is, because if it isn't, then we need to reform and we need to change some things.
So at this very moment, we're actually creating or working with the accountability department to look at key performance indicators to determine just that.
Thank you. Great question, great conversation. And yes, that's the spirit of continuous improvement right there, that you look at things and tweak them as they may need to be tweaked. So thank you, Commissioner Santiago. President Elliott, ma'am.
Thank you, Commissioner Simmons. So I think we have an opportunity when it comes to our students with disabilities and ELL, because when we look at the graduation data, those two groups are the groups that are performing lower than the other students. And so I think we need to focus on that group. That may be far more difficult. I'm not sure, but I think that if we can put resources around those two groups, I think that's going to help us to increase the graduation rate. Those two groups seems to always come lower. And we have to look at what strategies we put in place in order to be able to increase the graduation rates for those two populations. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, President Elliott. And my understanding around, and correct me if I'm wrong, I know there's some root causes that we're looking at. Some students leave and they remain on our docket. Is that still the case?
That's one of many.
Historically, I know that
We're
has-
also finding our English language learners, some of them are choosing not to continue because they need to work. They need to work and support their families. But like I said, we have the All City High program to help re-engage those students who may need to work at a unique time and build the schedule accordingly and set them up with the online credit recovery, so on and so forth, so that we are able to meet those students' needs and meet them where they are so that they can get that paper in their hand to be successful.
Okay, wonderful, thank you. Commissioner Malloy.
Thank you so much, Deputy Strickland, for that wonderful presentation. No questions per se, but I'm wondering if, just for my own research and for the board's research moving forward, if there's somewhere where we could find disaggregated data for our English language learners, maybe by program or school, to look at some of these numbers just by school, to have access to that information. And then I'm also interested in a breakdown of other at-risk student groups, like chronically absent students or those students with attendance issues or even suspensions. I know we've done that in the past, and so I don't know if there's a place I can go to as a commissioner just to look for that information so I don't put any more work on anyone's plate. But I think that type of information would be helpful for me. So that's everything. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, and definitely our black males. I know historically, black males were not graduating in this district. And to Commissioner Patterson's point, disaggregating those by sex or gender, should I say, would be helpful, just to re-emphasize that. Commissioner Griffin.
Thank you, Commissioner Simmons. Thank you, Commissioner Simmons. Just a couple of things here. One thing I would be interested in knowing is what difficulties are the children having that is causing them not to meet or to pass what they need to pass in order to graduate? Is it a reading deficiency? Where are their barriers at that they can't overcome that is causing them not to graduate outside of, like you said, having to go to work to support their families? I find that some people are good test takers, some people are not.
Yeah.
What are we doing to assess that so that we can probably help assist them with those different areas that they may not be proficient in order to graduate or to pass the exams or their classes, so that we can see them go on to be very successful? Do we know any information about that at all?
Yes, that's a fantastic question. And our Commissioner Betty Rosa convened the Blue Ribbon Commission, and what she was doing is she's taking a look at our graduation standards and actually determining if there are other ways that we can assess students to show proficiency, and then they are able to be successful rather than just taking a Regents test. So we are moving in a great direction. It was very very exciting and promising to see that. To be honest, and like I'm not a multiple choice test taker, but I can write an essay, you know? So therefore, you know, we hope this commission just gives our students and families multiple ways to earn that certificate at the end, because we do know there's multiple modalities in all of our students. And to go further into your question, there could be a myriad of reasons. There could be reading difficulties, there could be math difficulties. As I explained earlier, English only has one Regents exam. So if you don't take that Regents exam and pass it, that already sets you behind, even if you have everything passed. And you know that taking an exam, you could have one bad day. You know, so we are also being strategic and getting our students to like sit for January exams, and hopefully they pass, and if not, they get the opportunity to do it in June, so on and so forth. We're just doing all kinds of things. But to answer your question, it's so many reasons, outside, inside factors, you name it, you can find a student.
Do they take any pretest before they take the actual Regents exam? I was a Regents student, so I know that if you didn't get that 65, that
Yep.
you know
Yeah.
you were just like dead in the water. That is kind of discouraging at this point. So why is it that they're just continuing to take the Regents exam? Why don't they just go for the local exam, or is that not an alternative?
No, the expectation is that our students are getting Regents exams, unless they're a student with disability, and then they have alternative pathways or alternative ways into earning their diploma. Teachers are using review workbooks. I just bought workbooks and gave it to the directors who are looking into, are these the best workbooks to support our students in being successful? They're doing any and everything possible. We know that we have to do a lot more. So I don't want to shortchange efforts.
Okay, my last question would be
Sure.
for the board goals that you have. I still say that 223, 228, that's far. That's a big difference. That's a lot of time, period. Where are the short-term goals for this? Why isn't there anything in between that time? That's 5 years. Where is it that we're trying to meet these short-term goals to get to that? The long-term, which would be the 2028? Do we
We are in
have
a
any of that?
We are in the process of breaking that into a manageable timeline and presenting to the superintendent. Will be presenting that at a later time, but that was noted, and we are definitely doing.
So yes, those are our board goals that
Yes.
that's the
Yours.
the Board of Education.
Yep.
That 5-year plan, that's us. And the superintendent is developing the strategic
Correct.
plan, to your point, Commissioner Griffin, which will break down those short-term, what they plan to do in increments over time. And to Commissioner Santiago's earlier statement, we will have the opportunity, if we feel like we're moving along and we say, we need to tweak something, this is not working, we have the option and the opportunity to come together as a board to start looking at those plans.
I think that my biggest concern is that when people are looking at this outside of where we're at, I believe that they can see that the gradual growth from year to year to where you expect it to be on 2028, no matter if they're going to break it down later. I think that it would help the public a little bit more understand where we're trying to go to. More people look at less words, more numbers. We look at it and we see where the growth is and where we're trying to get to. We don't like to read that much. So if we could try to start looking at the fact that if we bringing this to the table and we're letting the public view it, that it be viewed in the sense where, okay, these are the numbers here, and this is where we're going to get to.
Right, so board goals are always high level in general, as you see them there. That is exactly how a board goal would look at any organization. To your point, when the superintendent gives us that strategic plan, that's where the public will see what you're asking to have broken down. Matter of fact, can you tell me, Ms. Sandino, if the superintendent is still online? Okay, Commissioner Peluso. Superintendent Peluso, if you're still there, if you can take a moment to maybe talk about the strategic plan and what's coming, what we can expect.
Absolutely. So we have the goals, like Commissioner Simmons was just mentioning of the 5 years, we will now break those up in yearly goals to achieve that 5 years. So what will it be in year 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to make it to the end goal in 5 years? And then inclusive of that will be strategies of what the intention is to do to make it to that goal. And we're going to be presenting that within, I think within the end of March, to share all that information. But, you know, typically what you'll see is a 5-year increase over time to get to those goals. That's where we typically use, that's a benchmark that's used 3 to 5%. We went on a 5% high as well.
And that presentation will be public facing, of course, correct?
Yep, the strategic plan will be a full forward-facing document, absolutely.
Okay. And I want to make sure that did you have any other statements or anything that you wanted to expound on? Because I have failed to go to the Zoom a little bit.
Nope. The only other thing I'll say is, you know, and we will share some graduation data over time, right? Deputy Strickland did a very nice job of outlining, you know, some causes of influxes and changes of graduation rate with exemptions. I think we have to also take a look at level set in terms of where we were pre-COVID, where we are, and what we're projected to go to as well, just so that everyone has a little bit of a full picture of where we were and where we're going.
Okay, thank you very much. Did that capture things for you, Commissioner Griffin?
Yes, thank you, Commissioner Simmons, and thank you, Deputy Strickland.
Absolutely.
Also on the Zoom, do we still have our parent rep, Monica Graham? Ms. Graham, if you had a last question or comment that you wanted to make, we're keeping it at 2. But the mic is yours at this time.
Thank you, Deputy Strickland. A pleasure as always. I had to definitely do some heavy breathing throughout that presentation, but I do appreciate you keeping us abreast of what's going on. As a parent, this is why we do our work. As a community, this is why we come together and uplift our scholars, because we do know this firsthand, right? We don't need, no offense, we don't need this presentation because we're living this. So this is what keeps us going. This is why sometimes you see the same parents in the same place, because we know how important it is for our scholars to succeed. And we will be there to the end to make sure that these numbers increase.
Yes.
But I do appreciate the Power School being updated, because I am a parent that utilizes Power School for everything. So I do appreciate that you are making sure that is updated. And in regards to the graduation commitment, that each school have one. So as a parent or a caregiver, I can go to my school and say, what is your graduation commitment and how can I assist with making sure that we reach our goals?
All right. Now,
So thank you again, and I appreciate you.
And invite the parent friends, Ms. Graham. We need the parent friends. We need you. We need the ones that are always there, and we need the ones that we're not seeing, because those are the ones that's going to lift the rate. Those are the ones who don't have the voice. And those are the ones that we have to reach. Everyone's voice is important, but we've got to get to those parents. And I appreciate you for being here this evening. Thank you for your comments. And lastly, we have our state monitor here, and I want to make sure that I give space to you if you have any comments or anything to say.
Thank you, Commissioner Seymour. Great presentation. It is good to focus on the kids from the time when they enter 9th grade to make sure that we're keeping track of all of them and the activities that you're doing. They're right on task, keeping track of them, how many courses, how many regions. The good old days, and I shouldn't say good old days, but the days when we had the COVID, those days are over. So we need to make sure that our kids are proficient and that we're doing everything that we can to support all the students. So great job.
We're gonna get some certificated teachers up in these classrooms, right, Chris Miller?
Yep.
Right? We're gonna do all of the things.
Quality teachers, yes.
Yeah, we gotta do that right there. I appreciate you. Thank you so much for your presentation this evening. Thank you for the rich dialogue. Before I end, Commissioner Malloy, I'm gonna give you the mic because I wanna honor some folks and I wanna give you that space to do so, and then I'll close out the meeting.
Thank you so much, Commissioner Simmons. I had the honor last night of attending a ceremony at Harley School for the Princeton Prize in Race Relations. There were 12 individuals honored across Western New York. In fact, we have a former winner sitting on our dais with us, Commissioner Santiago, who was a finalist last year. We also had a winner from our CSD. Yeah, it wasn't last night, but last year he was honored. And we also had a winner, Sarah Adams won the actual Princeton Prize last year as well. So last night's ceremony was 12 new individuals, including a shout out to my own student who I nominated, who was one of the finalists. But 3 of the 12 kids who were honored from across Western New York were from our CSD. And if I just want to say congratulations to Zainab Ahmed from School Without Walls, Tabitha Perry from World of Inquiry, and Trevor Wiggins from World of Inquiry. These 3 students engaged in some amazing work across this region. They were honored last night. One of those students is only a 9th grader and an English language learner. So I was so proud to sit there, not only to honor my own student in the district where I work, but to see 3 of our students here in this community honored among kids all across Western New York. And they'll be honored again this Friday at the Rock to Change conference. So congratulations to those students.
Awesome. Thank you so much for taking time to do that. So at this time, we have concluded the Equity and Student Achievement Committee of the Whole. I'm going to ask everyone to take the board survey, and can I entertain a motion?
Motion.
To close out the meeting. Motion by Vice President LeBron, seconded by President Elliott. All in favor?
Aye.
This meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
So we will go right into the special meeting. I'd like to, are we able to go right into it, Tom? So I'm calling the special meeting to order to consider resolutions, and we have no speakers. And if there is no objection, we will bundle them. Can I get a motion for resolutions 659 through 666?
Motion.
No, I have a question on one.
Which question do you have on?
I just wanted to say I had a question. I'm going to tell you, one second.
Question on?
1 second, I just lost it. It just went away on me.
Seconded by, boy.
Take it. It's okay.
1 second, I went all the way out. Sorry, guys, I accidentally hit all the way out on an accident. Bear with me for a second. I don't know how I did that. So give me a second. What's that doing? I don't know why mine is going all the way. It's resolution 660.
All right, what's your question?
I was just curious on the one with the senior research analyst. Just for understanding, we review the different people for the jobs that sign up for that we review that we interview for the jobs. Excuse me. The criteria that we look at as far as giving them a salary, what do we base that on? Is it a do we
I'll let Chief Miller respond to that.
Good evening, Commissioner. So a variety of factors, but first and foremost, we're guided by the contract, the collective bargaining agreement that we're going to have between the district and the association, in this case, the ESA.
Can you come closer? I have a hearing deficit. I'm 40% deaf in my right ear, so you might find me talking loud sometimes, and it's because I can't hear myself speak. So if you can speak up in that mic, because I'm trying to read your lips and I can't see them moving.
Sure. So we're guided first and foremost by the collective bargaining agreement that we would have with the respective association, and in this case, it would be ASAR. And so in our contracts, there are ranges or determinations or salary grids that we follow to provide salaries. Certainly, we take into account the level of experience that the individual has, as well as any education levels that they might have in advanced degrees. But all of those things would be called for in the job description. The job description would also speak to what the salary range for the position is in terms of a minimum and maximum. And we would also be looking at other people that might be in that role and what their relative experience and education levels would be, and use that as a comparative factor, as well as what the going market rate is for the position within our local labor market.
All right, thank
Well,
you. Any other?
Yeah, I just wanted to say something else after what he just said. Chris, Mr. Miller? Okay, so just for instance, I'm looking at the senior research analyst, and when I look at the comparison with someone working this senior research analyst in a district, I'm seeing like it's kind of more on the higher end. It's not on, it's not even a middle grade for a person of 2024 with someone in that position. So that's why I'm just curious, $100,000, and then we have, that's to me is a lot of money for in particular. So I'm just curious on how do we come to terms with that type of salary being given to an individual? And it concerns me because it's like at a higher end versus,
I want to be careful about speaking about any specific people in public.
Okay.
But
Okay.
the information I shared at the beginning relative to all the myriad factors is what goes into how salaries are determined.
Okay, I would just like to see the breakdown of that if we could, just to see how it breaks down. I apologize. I didn't know I was overstepping myself there, but yeah, I would like to see the breakdown of that. I'm just curious. Thank you.
So let me just reiterate what the chief said. These are contractual arrangements, so we don't get a say in this. I mean, so whether there is this comment, the fact is that this is what we're going to have to approve. So I just want to make sure that we're clear that these are contractual arrangements. We have no say in them until we vote on the budget, on the contract. So I want you to understand that this is not going to change. So just be clear about that. So I just wanted to clarify that.
Yeah, it's not about being changed, it's understanding where the salaries are coming from.
All right,
President
thank you.
Elia.
Any
I
other
think we need to
questions?
understand that.
All right, any other questions?
I think you need to understand it, but you have the ability to read the contracts and
Yeah.
have a great understanding
They're
of
available.
what the step pay salary looks like there.
Commissioner Patterson?
Is this a discussion period?
Yeah, for various, whatever the resolution that you're
Okay, so
interested in.
Just a quick question.
Sure.
Is this a new position or a replacement?
No, this is not a new position,
Okay.
and in fact, the person that previously held it left because they were recruited out of the district with the same skills for a much higher rate of compensation.
That's good. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Commissioner Patterson. Any other questions or comments related to Resolution 659 through 666? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, can I get a motion to adjourn? All those in favor? Any opposed? Have a good night, everybody.
Thank you.